Episode 8: Scars Within the Landscape. Scene 1: From perfect noise to the sound of living.
The view widened. What remained of the square lay open to the morning, the fractured glass chamber, its panels cracked and dulled by dust, the broken lever abandoned where it had fallen, cables slack and coiled like shed skins across the ground. Nothing rushed to erase the disorder. Once, long ago, and not so long ago, this would have caused alarm, or magic, or both. The dream worlds had been trained to correct imperfection the moment it appeared, to smooth every interruption before it could be noticed. Now the mess simply existed. Sunlight touched the glass shards, and they answered with brief, indifferent flashes. Not dazzling, not dangerous, just present. Small constellations scattered at ground level, reflecting a sky that no longer required translation. The sound of the place had changed, the steady hum that once underpinned everything. The seamless, synthetic harmony maintained by our cone was gone. Its absence did not collapse into silence, it made room. Wind moved through the trees unevenly, stirring leaves in no particular order. Somewhere beyond the square, a stream spoke to itself, its water slipping over stone without regard for rhythm or refrain. Closer by, a throat cleared, a foot shifted on gravel, breath passed in and out of lungs that were no longer being measured. These were the errors that proved the space was real. The quiet did not press inward, it did not threaten to swallow what remained, it opened. Wide enough for chance, for interruption, for beginnings that would not announce themselves with ceremony. On the dead panel of the machine of forgetting, a small bird landed. It cocked its head once, then began to preen, drawing its beak carefully through its feathers. The metal beneath it held without resistance. The machine did not respond, it did not remember what it had been built to do. It was only a perch now, a thing reclaimed by use rather than purpose. Around the square, the dreamworlds breathed with a new honesty. Sound no longer echoed as if the world were a hall designed to flatter itself. It stayed close, dry, intimate. Each noise arrived as itself and left when it wished. This was not emptiness, it was possibility, unscored. The scars remained. Glass, wire, silence where a hum had been. But they had settled into the landscape, not as warnings, not as wounds demanding closure, as evidence, that something had ended, that something else, unplanned and unperfected, had already begun.
Scene 2: The pens come apart.
The square was still occupied, guards remained where they had been stationed, civilians lingered at the edges of the space they had been told not to cross. No signal had been given to disperse, no command had replaced the one that no longer existed, and yet, something loosened. Grumpy, as he had always been called whether he liked it or not, lifted a hand to his head and removed the guard's helmet. The metal rang dully as he lowered it, then hesitated, unsure where such an object belonged once it no longer defined him. He scratched his scalp, blinking in the sunlight. He looked tired, not defeated, not angry, just finished. Nearby, little mice studied the rope that had once marked the safety boundary. It sagged now, meaningless without enforcement. With a sharp, economical kick, she sent it tumbling. The chalk line beneath it smeared into dust. No one stopped her, no one even inhaled sharply. The ground did not react, the air did not tighten. The act passed as one more small adjustment in a morning full of them. Eeyore watched the scene with his usual slumped patience. His ears drooped, his voice followed. "I thought the sky would fall," he said. "It didn't. Maybe tomorrow." No one laughed, no one argued. The statement did not demand agreement. It simply took its place among the other sounds of the square. Without the queen to fear, without Arcon's order to obey, the structure that had held everyone in place began to dissolve. Not dramatically, not violently, organically. The guards no longer stood in straight lines. Civilians did not cluster in neat, cautious groups. Individuals drifted, paused, reoriented themselves according to comfort rather than instruction. Small knots formed and dissolved again. This disorder did not feel dangerous, it felt safe. Hierarchy, once upheld by threat and reassurance alike, lost its urgency. There was no common enemy to define edges, no savior to justify obedience, only a gathering of different beings sharing the same open ground. Some spoke quietly, some stretched stiff limbs, some simply stood, uncertain but unafraid. The pens, those invisible enclosures built of rules, roles, and expectations, no longer held. And as the square settled into this uneven, human geometry, it became clear that what replaced order was not chaos, it was proximity without pressure, a community not yet redesigned, but no longer confined.
Scene 3. What was left behind.
The three were already leaving. At the edge of the square, their figures moved toward the forest line. Smaller now, less defined, their voices lost to distance and morning air. Teddy's angular stride, Lucy's steady weight, Thinksy's light, uneven rhythm blended briefly with the grass and then slipped beyond attention. The story did not follow them, it stayed. The square lay open beneath the widening sky, and at its center, the machine of forgetting remained exactly as it was, broken, quiet, unattended. Glass still glittered where it had fallen, wires rested where hands had let go of them. No one rushed to repair it, no one swept the fragments away. They were left there, to rust in the rain, to dull beneath the sun, to gather moss where metal once pretended to be eternal, so that no one would forget, so that the lesson would not be polished into something harmless. The machine's surface, once polished to command awe, had already begun to lose its sheen. In the softening light, it did not look dangerous, it did not even look powerful, it looked small, a relic of a time that believed perfection could protect, that order could replace trust, that harmony could be enforced without cost. The light changed, morning brightness eased into something warmer, slower. A golden hour that touched everything without preference. It slid along the trunks of living trees and lingered just as kindly on bent metal and shattered glass. Nature did not condemn the ruin, it accepted it. What could not be carried forward would be absorbed, what could not grow would fade. the landscape would remember. Not as a warning carved in stone, but as texture, as history folded gently into the present, and if one listened closely, beneath the wind and the distant water, beneath the ordinary sounds of a world continuing, there was a quiet truth settling into place: perfection was never salvation, it was only a beautiful cage. The light held for a moment longer, and then, without erasing what had been, it grew so bright, that even memory softened into possibility.
The end.